Good morning and welcome to Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM, the sound of Lagos. This is the part where we get to talk about trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. And we have our papers here with us. Of course, trending across all the papers, we still have the subsidy conversation, the Naira scarcity conversation. We'll get into it. But then we'll do this up until 8:30. And then by 8:40, we move on to Mainland Focus, where we pick one or two trending stories, put some spotlight on it, and then open up the phone line for you to share your contributions as regards this. We can't stop talking about all these things. We have to keep talking about it until the right people at the right places hear about it and then do something about it. All right, my name still remains Omobola Sandra, and Fuhad Saeed will be joining in via the phone line in a bit. Thank you for standing by. We have our papers here with us: The Guardian, Nigerian Tribune, Vanguard, and New Telegraph. All right, so don't forget that we're also live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can always follow the program live. And if you are going to be leaving Lagos anytime soon, of course, you can still listen to the show via Radio Garden. Just search for Milan 98.3 FM, download Radio Garden on the phone, and search for Milan 98.3 FM, and you can listen to your favorite shows on the station from any corner of the world. All right, let's get on with it. First, good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra.
How are you doing? I'm well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm good.
We're good people.
Yes.
All right, let's get on with it. I'll start with the Guardian newspaper, and the major headline there: subsidy removal plan raises anxiety as Labour breaks ranks. And we have riders here that says Labour not aware of palliative talks on subsidy. Pengasan okays subsidy removal. NLC resists deadline. Don't impoverish masses. ASCSN charges new government. Palliative committee yet to harmonize positions 1 year after. Ngige. Incoming administration to propose pay rise and bear palliative burden. So, last year, Fuad, there was different reports that we had from the Buhari-led administration that by June 2023, the subsidy regime will come to an end, and then we'll have one of our refineries working, and aside from that, the Dangote refinery would also come up, and one way or the other give some sort of support to whatever it is that our own refinery will be doing. That was the conversation, and that was what we got from the Minister of State for Petroleum. He said his own. That's Melekiari. We also had the NNP. No, sorry. The Minister of Finance also said that by June they're going to stop paying subsidy. From different corners of this particular administration, we had that by June. And everybody was asking the same question: what are you going to do to be able to cushion the effect or whatever consequence is going to come off taking off subsidy? Because petroleum experts are saying that if subsidy is taken off, we may be paying as much as 1,000 naira to 1,500 naira per litre for fuel. So now, 3 months to that June deadline for the subsidy removal, plans by the federal government to scrap the scheme may meet some sort of resistance now from the public and also from labor unions, all right, over lack of clarity regarding the process and also availability of social investment programs. That is some sort of palliative that will just make things easier for people. All right. That would of course cushion the effect of this planned exercise. Let's not forget that the president is to step down on May 29. All right, and that's just a few days to the June proposed deadline. So, do you think the Buhari-led administration will be able to get through with this, or do you think it's something that they should just leave for the incoming government?
Well, they will have to leave it for the incoming government because by June they will not be in power again. And even from the issue of palliative, again, for me, palliative is something like palliative. But just joking. Now, the reality of the situation, Sandra, is before the general election, we already had 4 frontline presidential candidates.
Yes.
We knew that one of them was going to emerge as president. and we kept insisting that we should make the campaign issue-based. And I knew why I was insisting at that time that we should be careful to get distracted by, meaningless issues, things that are not of serious importance. I think a lot of people did not listen, were more concerned about ethnic sentiment, religious sentiment, and all of that. And we left the real issues of the state. Here we are now, we have concluded the election. There's no question as to when and how the results will be removed. All the frontline presidential candidates gave their manifesto. And somehow, there was no complete clarity on how they were going to handle the issue of subsidy.
But I think there was one thing they all they all agreed on was the removal of subsidy.
But did any of them address the issues of our refineries?
The question
what
of
was going to
how?
happen to our refineries?
The question of how?
Not only our refineries, did any of them also address the issue of local production and taking care of our local needs in terms of refining locally? Did any of them address it? None of them. So here we are now. There's no clarity as to what is going to happen. Experts in the industry, and I don't think we even need any experts to tell us what is going to happen. As high as 3,000 naira per litre, it's not impossible, and I'll tell you why. It's about forex, because it's by importation. And with the way the naira is doing badly in the forex market, it means that things we are going to be importing will be dictated by forex. And so it continues to go up. So we are in for a big, I don't want to scare anybody, but honestly, I'm afraid as to what is going to happen to ordinary Nigerians if the government decides, and again they are insisting. The president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we were going to protest because it was going to cause pain on them. But what was the issue of fixing our refinery before removing subsidy? Because the reality of the situation again is that there are no provisions beyond June for subsidy payment. So it can't go beyond June.
By this administration, yes.
Yes, of course, unless supplementary budget comes that now include
addresses
subsidy payment, adjust to include subsidy payment. But the reality is that, look, unless there's a conspiracy against the Nigerian people, up till now, there's no reasonable explanation as to why our refineries are not working. There have been different suggestions. Also, the vice president kept mentioning modular refineries. We are giving licenses to people. We are going to ensure the modular refineries. So Sandra, it's a confused situation, and honestly, I don't know how Nigerians are going to be able to receive the reward of subsidy when we are not able to refine our food locally. You know the talk.
All right, yes, but there's one thing I would like to point out, because we've had previous administrations coming in who have also promised to remove the fuel subsidy and do something. But then it has been a difficult one for a lot of them due to strong oppositions from the public and, labor unions and civil society organizations and the likes. So do you think it's something that, yes, he said it that whether we protest or not, but at the end of the day, do you think that when we get to that bridge, we'll be able to cross it, or he may have to just, at least for a few months, just take things easy, or do you think it will just be, cut it off, let's move on?
We can't move on now. Moving on to where? Moving on to more suffering and pain. Look, Sandra, what gave birth to subsidy in the first place? Let's all see what address this thing. It was simple. The fact that we could not refine locally, that was what gave birth to subsidy. Some of them was working. And so we had to rely on importing refined fuel. The code that God gave to us for free, so we'll not take it out. They will refine. They will now use money to bring this in. How does that even make any sense, Sandra? How does that? Let us even not go into the logic and the technicalities and all of that. God gave you something for free. Let's make it very pedestrian and analysis. Something for free, crude, for free. And you cannot refine it locally. You cannot. Look at the story of Angola. I'm sure our listeners can do a quick Google search on what Angola is doing with their crude. How they've been able to pay all their Chinese debt because they have full solar refineries, and the Angolan currency is doing very well against the dollars now. Standing up, the economy is getting stronger and getting better. They have functional refineries run by the government in Angola. So how is our own different? Why is our own different? And that's why I said that, look, we can look at from 1999, but I'm more disappointed with the APC government on the issue of not being able to fix our refineries. Not even one. in 8 years.
Right. Well, in what appears to be an interesting turn of event, there are major stakeholders in the there are major stakeholders in organized labor and also in the oil and gas sector. For example, Pengasan, who have declared their support for petrol subsidy removal.
But with a
Meanwhile,
caveat, the report is not complete. Maybe the other papers will complete the report. What they have said is that they support removal of subsidy,
I was
but the
getting,
refinery to be fixed first.
I was getting it.
All right.
Thank you. All right. So yes, they have declared their support for petrol subsidy removal. However, they are insisting on making the local refineries functional before removal of subsidy. Not because they believe that the price of the product will be lower when refined, locally. Rather, they said that they believe that pumping up the local refining capacity will result in creation of jobs for the value chain. So that is their own stand. Okay, you can go ahead and remove it, but then ensure that one of our refineries is working, and there's job opportunities for our people down here. All right. Away from that, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, has hinted that the incoming administration of President-elect Asiwaju Bola Tinubu will give public sector workers pay rise after removing fuel subsidy in June. I don't understand. Is Ngige part of the incoming administration for him to give that kind of declaration?
What would the pay rise do now when the cost of living goes up? You give increased pay, and the cost of living goes up. So what have you given to them?
The same lifestyle.
This is not the same pain and sorrow now. So what is the pay rise supposed to do?
Well, the incoming government is not obliged to act on the okay, it's a recommendation.
He should leave the recommendation. What was his own government able to do himself that is talking? And I'm 100% sure that he's not going to be part of this new government.
It's a recommendation, and he said they're not putting any pressure on Tinubu to fulfill this, but then you should just think of what they are recommending. It's okay. It's a long report. You can get the details on pages 6 and 26 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's keep moving now. Still on the front page of the Guardian, PDP obeys court order, replaces Ayu with Damagum. All right. Some will say, oh, by this time in the morning, but then. I don't know. I don't know if it's medicine after death. I don't know if this is going to solve anything for the PDP. I remember on Monday we had a conversation for Ballot 23. The focus on the fact that going forward, are we going to be having a vibrant opposition? But then with a lot of upset within the PDP, I hope, I don't know. Do you think in any way or the other this is going to put the shatters of the party together, and maybe they're on their way to healing, or maybe this is just medicine after death? It's not going to solve anything.
Nothing resolved yet, Sandra. Basically, are you stepping down because of the court order? It's a temporary thing, because even if you look at the statement from the National Secretariat, the Secretary of the party, what he said was that in obedience, in trying to obey the interim injunction of the court, Ayu is stepping down and this other man is taking over temporarily until when all cases in court are sorted. So it's not that I don't see any resolution to the issue of the PDP. It's probably going to get worse because they are going to begin to go into court to get all manner of injunction and pronouncements, and that will further deepen their crisis. The resolution of this crisis is simple. How to resolve it is simple. Be true to themselves. Drop their ego and commit to the workings of the party. That will resolve these issues in less than 1 hour. They know what to do. It's about ego, it's about power, it's about positioning. Not about national interest, I must tell you, Sandra. Don't let anybody be. That is about equality, fairness, and justice. There's nothing, when politicians say these things, it's only when it's through their narrative that they bring it up. The reality that is far also, people want to take over the party for different purposes and personal interests. And until they're able to harmonize all of those things, for the sake of the party, nothing is going to change in that party.
All right, well, we have riders to that. Damagum, I'm taking office to fulfill all righteousness. That's Umar Damagum. Also, we have Ayu suspension illegal. Court order unfortunate, says Anyagu. And we also have your reign is over. No coming back. Wike tells Ayu. Olafeso Pierce Odeyemi says Ayu's removal won't make a Southerner chairman. Ah, so here we are.
Yes.
Back to square one. I don't, just like we said, I think I've just answered my question by myself. All right.
From what you are reading now.
Exactly. But then you can get all of the details on page 6. It's a long read. You get, reactions within the PDP as regards the removal, the suspension of Ayu, the replacement of Ayu, different, factions within the PDP.
Stepping down Ayu.
Yes, speaking or having different reactions or statements as regards, this particular court judgment. All right. Well, Debo Ologunagwa, reacting to the statement of the presentation of Dagom as acting national chairman, said, I'm quoting now, the NWC at an emergency meeting yesterday acknowledged the order of the Benue State High Court dated March 27 with regards to the chairmanship position of the party. Okay. The NWC has charged all leaders, critical stakeholders, teaming members, and supporters to remain calm and united. Now, responding to questions on why Ayu came to the office on Tuesday, Damagom said Ayu had every right to visit the office to pack his personal belongings. Well, more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Yes, I'm with you.
It's not impossible that he may not return as chairman of the party. It happens like this. When things like this happen, it may just the final era of
I'm sorry.
chairman.
We were expecting him back.
No, I'm saying that I'm just saying that that may just be the final era of Ayu as chairman of that party. A lot of times, this is the way it happens.
That's unfortunate. It's okay. Well, more details on page 6. Moving on, we also have here, 1 year after, Kaduna government releases personal belongings to train attack victims. Yeah. Well, the details is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. Also, we have Labour suspends strike, CBN picketing to monitor cash flow for the given it's 2 weeks is okay. I mean, to monitor the situation and see if there's anything that should be done going forward. So, organized labor has suspended their proposed strike and picketing of the Central Bank of Nigeria offices because it was supposed to start today. So, they have given them proposals on how best to solve the problem, and they said so far they have done averagely well. So we'll see how that will play, because I think even the banks are anxious. They're looking forward to be able to decongest their banking halls and their ATMs. So they're also doing everything that they can to make things easier for themselves.
Well, I've not visited any bank in the last 2 days or 3, but of course the reports we are getting is that people are now getting substantial amount of cash. So let's see what happens in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Really, let's just follow what Labour has said. 2 weeks is a good time to study the situation and then take a decision. I suggested 5 days, but 2 weeks is not bad.
Okay. All right then. More details on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on, we also have Dogua's case file no longer with police. And that's on page 4. Very quickly, Kano State Police Command has declared that henceforth inquiry on Al Hassan Dogua's alleged murder trial should be channeled to the state government, as the police has completed investigation and handed over the case file accordingly to the state government. Okay.
For prosecution, yeah.
All right. So we can get more details on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. That's an update for us. And finally, from the Guardian, Tinubu cancels 71st birthday colloquium for national prayer. So happy birthday to the president-elect of the country. But then the president-elect, Bola Tinubu, has cancelled his 71st birthday colloquium and instead fixed prayers for the country. And to mark his 71st birthday, he has directed special prayers and Thanksgiving service to be held today, March 29, instead of the yearly birthday colloquium. And the special prayers will be held in Lagos and other parts of the country. More details on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper as the president-elect celebrates his 71st birthday today.
Speaking for prayer.
Yes, for the country.
Well, it's good to pray. Yeah, prayer is the master key. But I just think that when we pray, we need to also do the right thing. We need to look at ourselves. We need to look at our behavior. And then, of course, our character. Take the country first. Above all personal interest, nothing is going to change. We can pray from now till tomorrow. It's about what we are able to do as a people.
All right,
but it's good to pray. I'm not saying prayer is not good.
No, Abba. All right, thank you very much, Fuad. Let's move on now to Vanguard newspaper. In case you're just tuning in, this is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, and we're currently reviewing the trending stories on the front pages of our papers. We are moving on now to Vanguard newspaper. Don't forget that we are live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. All right, Vanguard, the major headline: PDP crisis, Ayu out, Damagum named acting chairman. Right as to that, I'm taking office to fulfill all righteousness, says Damagum. NWC to meet and review development today. Ayu behaved like a village headmaster. That's coming from Bode George. Go. Accept your reign has ended. Wike mocks Ayu. It's interesting. So let's just keep watching as the drama continues to unfold within the People's Democratic Party going forward. More details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Let's keep moving now. Still on the front page of Vanguard, we have cash crunch. NLC suspends planned strike. Gives CBN 2 weeks to normalize supply. That's on page 9. We also have here NAS to extend lifespan of 2022 capital and supplementary budget to June 30. So, what we have is the National Assembly. Okay, the details is on page 8 of Vanguard newspaper. So, looking at that particular report, what we have extended the implementation of the capital component of the 2022 budget from March 31, 2023 to June 30. And in the Senate, the extension was sequel to a lead debate by the Senate leader, Senator Ibrahim Gobir of APC, Sokoto East, who requested the upper chamber to amend the Appropriation Act 2022. And the Senate said, you will recall that the National Assembly extended the implementation to March from December 31st to March 31st. This was to allow full implementation of the allowed ministries, departments and agencies to utilize a large portion or proportion of funds released to them. However, significant amounts of funds remain with MDAs and will require a further extension to be fully expended. So given the critical importance of some key projects that are nearing completion, requesting a further extension is expedient to avoid compounding the problem of abandoned projects, given that some of the projects were not provided for in the 2023 budget. That is what the report says, and more details of that on page 8. Till June 30th, yes, till June 30th, they're extending the lifespan of the 2022 capital supplementary budget. Yes. Moving on now, we have still on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. We thought Obedient Movement and Peter Obi were a joke. And that's coming from ex-information minister Labaran Mako. And what the report says is, former information and national orientation minister Labaran Mako said that many saw the Obedient Movement and the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi as a joke. He said that the Labour Party presidential candidate took the nation by storm when he emerged as a third force candidate, enjoyed huge followership, and scored over 6 million votes, winning 12 states to finish third in the February 25 presidential election. And he said, and I'm quoting, that's Labaran Mako said, and I'm quoting, what happened in the presidential election, as you could see, was that there was this wave of young people, the obedience, that we all took for granted and were thinking Peter Obi was a joke. Where would he go? So both the PDP and the APC were thinking this man does not have structure. He will not be able to do so much. However, they have maintained that the young people have proved them wrong and put up an unprecedented showing in the 2023 election. I think we agree with this statement, Fuad.
Yeah, of course, we agree with it. A lot of us, I think a lot of political pundits never really gave the the movement a chance. It was like, okay,
no structure.
The structure thing and all of that. But again, to have been able to win 11 states and the FCT, Sandra, that was a major showing. But again, there are issues about the future of that movement. Again, the Labour Party was just a beneficiary of whatever happened with that movement. It's not, like I've always said, Sandra, if you put the obedient movement in the Boots Party, you are going to have the same thing. The Boots Party was probably going to have the same following and the same traction. But going forward, the actions and inactions of Mr. Peter Obi would determine what happens to that movement. Again, the Obi movement came from the youth movement of the NSAS era. We should not always forget that. So you have three levels here. You had youths of the NSAS era. You had Nigerians, majorly youths, who were really frustrated about the status quo, who wanted something new and different. And somehow, they saw Mr. Peter Obi as that political figure that could help them with their aspirations. And so they keyed into his ambition. So that created the obedient movement. And then, of course, the Labour Party was a platform, the political platform, to actualize their dreams. So you have that three levels. But I'm saying that figure, that political figure, Mr. Peter Obi, whatever he's able to do going forward will determine, whether the momentum will be sustained or not. So it all depends on what he's able to do.
MC Oluomo must answer for it if, and that's coming from the Lagos State Deputy Governor, Obafemi Hamzat, who said that the chairman of the Lagos Parks and Management Committee, Musliu Akinsoya, popularly known as MC Oluomo, must answer for any cases of ethnic profiling if he was found guilty after investigation, of course. More details.
Who's going to bail the card?
You know, one thing he said that struck me was the fact that he said, and he agreed with the fact that MC Oluomo is a registered and a known member of the APC who has declared exactly. So I'm curious. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are curious. What would they do to their own? Would they be able to do what they have said, or are we going to be looking at just let's just do something and please the people and let's move on with our lives? Well, we'll see how that turns out. He has said what he said, and we're watching. More details on page 7 of Vanguard newspaper. Above the masthead of Vanguard, we have 10th National Assembly. We've become onlookers in selection process. APC NWC is saying. So let's see what exactly this is referring to. So as the race for the leadership of the 10th National Assembly intensifies, a member of the National Working Committee of the ruling APC, Salihu Lukman, said lamented the laid-back attitude of the party leadership towards the process. He said rather than be its driving force, the Senator Abdullahi Adamu-led NWC was now helplessly watching from the sidelines. And he said, and I'm quoting now, "At a time irrationality has become overbearingly manifest in the politics of the country, no thanks to the so-called obedient politicians who thrive in peddling lies and falsehood as a strategy to mobilize support, every care should be taken to manage our diversity. It is quite frustrating for many members of the APC NWC that as leaders mandated to provide leadership in managing affairs of the party, we have become onlookers in matters that we should be directing. This must be urgently corrected." Is there anything more that the APC leadership can do as regards who becomes Senate President or who becomes Speaker of the House of Reps?
No, of course, there's a lot that they can do. That's the leadership of the party. They are supposed to be the ones creating the path. They are also supposed to set agenda and begin to ensure things are done properly, especially when it comes to the politics of the National Assembly. They can't be on in this matter. They are supposed to be at the forefront of it, ensuring that the interest of the party is protected. That's the right thing to do. But again, I must say that if people say Ayu was not really a good chairman to the PDP, I don't think Abdullah Adamu has done any better as a chairman of the APC. In fact, he lost his own state too. He wasn't able to deliver a state to the party. So I don't know. I think the man is just enjoying the game, positively for the party. In fact, he was almost going to cause a major crisis in the party before the primaries. When he said of the consensus candidate and all of that. But the reality is that we'll see what happens to him going forward, whether he's going to be able to complete his tenure as chairman or something's going to happen that will require his removal from that position. But I agree that, look, the NWC of the APC needs to step up. It's a party thing, and they're supposed to be involved with these things.
All right. Well, according to Salihu, he's saying that the APC NWC, led by Senator Abdullahi Adamu, needs to become more aggressive in driving the process of negotiating leadership of the 10th National Assembly. So, dousing any form of ethnic or religious tensions, it's important that, this is done properly in order to avoid any further, tensions in the country. Well, more details on page 27 of the Vanguard newspaper. Let's keep moving now. We also have here Kogi versus EFCC. Court adjourns ruling to April 20. And that is on page 20 of Vanguard newspaper. Very quickly, a federal high court sitting in Lagos yesterday fixed April 20 to rule on a Kogi state application seeking to vacate an interim order of court freezing 14 properties linked to Kogi state governor. This was fixed after taking submissions from the Governor's Council and the EFCC Council. That's Mr. Rotimi Oyedopo SAN. More details on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. We also have here polls. It's God that saved EFC. It's God that saved APC. Yes, it's God that saved APC, and that story is on page 11. And that's coming from Senator Assembly Senate President. Says zoning Senate take APC BOT chair after office. So, what we have in this particular story is that the current chief whip of the Senate, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, yesterday said that it was God that saved the APC in the just concluded elections, declaring that the quarrel in the party before the election was too much. All right. And he said that he had a meeting with the president, and this was to officially inform the president of his intention to run for the president of the Senate if the APC zones the position to the southeast. And he also made a statement here saying that, zoning to the southeast will bring peace to Nigeria. Now, we've had this conversation already as regards the importance of the party leadership to wade in as regards, the leadership of the 10th National Assembly. Whether or not, this would one way or the other, bring resolve some sort of, issues or tensions within the party, we would know. Or whether, maybe there is some sort of infighting within the APC that is supposed to, make things difficult for them going forward, would also know. But I'm concerned with, saying that, the quarrel within the APC was too much, and now he's lobbying to become the 10th Senate President or the 10th Assembly Senate President, saying that the Senate presidency to the southeast will bring peace to Nigeria. Another thing that also caught my attention is saying that or urging the president Buhari to take APC's board of trustees to become the APC board of trustees chairman.
He's a man that is disguising his own personal interest as a regional interest. He's disguising his own personal interest to become Senate president now as if it's a Southeast agenda. The Southeast wants the presidency. They were not bargaining for the Senate presidency. And I remember that, look, This is a man that said the Muslim ticket was not a problem. But now we told him that there's a possibility of a Muslim emerging as Senate president. He said, that was going to be a problem. Because he now involves his own interest. You can see the way politicians think. Now it is about, if the Southeast gets the Senate presidential slot, there will be peace in the Southeast because he wants to become Senate president. So that is his own personal ambition. It's now a regional agenda. How does that make any sense? And for him to be lobbying Buhari, I don't know whether he understands his politics very well.
Exactly.
You know, the self-preservationist nature of Mr. Buhari would not help him to become Senate president. I think the person who should be lobbying would actually be the president-elect. I'm just saying, that's political wisdom for me. If he is about Buhari, thinking Mr. Buhari will help him as the president, I think he's just joking. And I think that even for people from
He's speaking for Southeasterners, because there are some parts of, there are some Southeasterners who are not so comfortable with, Orji Uzor Kalu being the Senate president.
He's speaking for himself, but hiding it under the Southeast agenda.
It's okay.
Or interest.
He's
just speaking for himself.
All right. He said that, he said a lot. He said, God save their party because now we need a man like President Buhari to be aside. Every 3 or 4 months, we'll go and drag him from Daura and he'll settle party matters. We'll put him back. He goes back and continues to look after his cattle and his rice and all the rest of them. Me, I'm not yet ready to go and look after my palm kernel. I have more time to go before I start going to look after Buhari from Daura, from his rice and his cattle. Then they'll take him back. They'll take him back again. He will solve any problem. They'll take him back. Then when they have problem,
I doubt if the president will be so much interested in politics after office. He looks like someone who just wants to retire, stay back in Daura and enjoy his retirement. I think that's what he's starting on.
Trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM, and now we are going to Nigerian Tribune. This is interesting. I can't remember the last time I saw this paper. All right. Nigerian Tribune, the major headline: PDP crisis. Are you out? Damagum in. Wike celebrates. Of course. Right after that, NWC set to review suspension of Shema, Ayim, Fayoshe, others meets today. I was also looking forward to something as regards that. So now that Ayu has gone, are they going to find out at the end of the day? We also have as a rider here, Ihe Dioha withdraws from PDP governorship primaries in Imo. 10 days ahead for the PDP. Fuad, do you have anything to say as we move on to the next story? Okay. More details on page 3 of Nigerian Tribune. Moving on now, we also have here 7 injured as fire guts buildings in Balogun Market. This is another thing that I seriously hope that the Lagos State government would look into, is the fire situation, or the fire situation in markets in Lagos State is becoming a serious problem as it is now. So what we have now is 7 people sustained injuries following a fire outbreak at the popular Balogun Market on Lagos Island. All right, and this fire first got at the 5-story building, which housed about 350 shops at number 32 Bajumo Street, and it was gathered that the fire started from the last floor, the 10th floor upstairs. It spread to the 5th, 4th, and 3rd floors of the building, and then it spread to the next story building and completely razed it. It's very unfortunate. But then more details on page 26 of Nigerian Tribune. It's something that seriously needs to be talked about. This fire situation in our markets in Lagos State. It's becoming it's becoming very, very uncomfortable. I must say.
Well, Sandra, the Lagos State Safety Commission, I think, needs to do a lot of work to set safety standards for our market. Again, a lot of this market are makeshift. They are not custom built, So you have a situation where buildings that are initially residential are converted for commercial use. So you have them crammed up. There are no safety standards really that are followed in the way these things are converted. Even in the wiring, because a lot of the fire incidents we checked, comes as a result of faulty wiring system and all of that. So I think it's still about the Lagos State government looking into setting proper standards for this market, looking at what has been done in terms of the wiring. Again, I think the generators and all of those things, But I think that's the job of the Lagos State Safety Commission to do. Go into our market, set proper standards, and ensure that those standards are followed. Not just to set the rules, but ensure that people follow the rules. And then also the issue of response too. A lot of our markets are inaccessible. It's not easy to access them. Even when there's a fire incident, for firefighters to get there is always a problem. Everywhere is cramped together. The access routes have become markets, and all of that. So we need to rethink and replan our markets. And I think that's the job of the government to do, and the Lagos State Safety Commission.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. Well, more details on page 26 of Nigerian Tribune. Also have here, nothing will truncate the handover of power on May 29, says the federal government, as President-elect nominates Kebbi Governor Wale Edun into Transition Council. What was that?
You know what I'm saying here, Bagudu and Wale Edun here.
It's okay. All right, more details on page 5. And the federal government has warned all those planning to truncate the seamless process of handing over power by the incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari to the president-elect Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu on May 29. And Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, gave the warning on Tuesday while giving an update on the activities of the Presidential Transition Council, and has assured Nigerians that the transition process is on course and all efforts are being made to ensure that there would be peaceful formal transfer of power to the president. More details on page 5. More details of that on page 5 of Nigerian Tribune. We also have, finally, from Nigerian Tribune, Afenifere sacks 2 principal officers. And the writers to that, disowned statement against Iwayaum, describes presidential poll as sham. That story is on page 3. And just very quickly, before we move on to the last paper for this morning, that particular report is saying that the crisis rocking Afenifere, a pan-Yoruba socio-political organization, seems to have deepened as the leadership of the group on Tuesday announced the suspension of 2 principal officers of the group, that is, the National Publicity Secretary, Jare Ajayi, and the National Organizing Secretary, Abagun Kole Omololu. There was a meeting held in Isonya, Ogun State, country home of its leader, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, and he said the suspension and removal of Ajayi and Omololu follow their uncouth activities and unauthorized statement issued in the name of the organization, tackling a Southeast leader, Chief Emmanuel Iwayawu, over a statement credited to him referring to Yoruba as political rascals. However, they have maintained that Afenifere has also maintained that the presidential election held on February 25 was fraught with irregularities. Speaking on the statement credited to Iwayawu, they also said, "We received a message credited to Chief Emmanuel in a viral video alleging indictment of the Yoruba as political rascals on account of ethnic violence deployed by politicians of the ruling party in the state. On analysis of the video and information at the disposal of Afenifere by the people at the Anambra State gathering, we are convinced that Chief Iwayawu rightly asserted that the Yoruba and Igbo were not at war and truly condemned the shenanigans of some political rascals. So, as such, they never issued any statement and disassociate the organization."
I think since Chief Iwayawu has denied making that statement, we should just move forward. We should just leave that issue. Let it rest. But again, as a Yoruba man, I'm reluctant to say this, but I'm going to say, honestly, I don't know the political relevance of Afenifere again. I'm just sorry. They are not relevant again. It's just that, it's an old organization. As it is, it's a one-man show now. Ayuade Banjo is in charge of that place, and his own personal interest is now the interest of Afenifere. What he wants is what Afenifere must do. So for me, politically, I don't see their relevance. I'm sorry.
Sure. All right. Well, just very quickly, we have just major headline: CSOs to INEC. justify the Federal Court for Electoral Offences, urge EFCC to probe those involved in vote buying. So the civil society organizations are said to INEC justify the 400 billion naira that you spent on the general elections. I think, are you curious, What?
Mm.
Do you want to know what the money was spent on?
INET?
Yes.
Yeah, it's important now. Why not? That's for probity and accountability now. It's important that they break it down. Let's know what they do with the money.
All right.
Fine.
More details on page 2 of New Telegraph. We also have here, Buhari won't spend an extra day in office, says Boss Mustafa. And that's on page 2. Pages 2 and 7 of New Telegraph. Also, we have Labour Party, Peter Obi meets National Assembly members elect / gubernatorial nomination fee to return late Anumudu's 25 million naira fees. Story is on page 2 of New Telegraph. And we also have on the front page of New Telegraph, Autumn concedes defeat to APC, withdraw case from tribunal. That's on page 5. Iedioha withdraws from Imo PDP gubernatorial primaries. As we bring one or two trending stories to the spotlight and enjoying your contributions to the conversation. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be right back.